That's right, people. Totally local. Colorful characters. Local businesses. Interesting things happening in and around the Jersey Shore area. I got it almost right that time. Follow us on totally_local_podcast on Instagram. And if you're watching now, we're live on Facebooks. So you're on the Facebooks. You know what we're doing. As always, we got Aaron Levine, LG Insurance, hanging out. How you doing, man?
Happy to be here.
Good.
As always.
Good.
You know, the energy in the room.
The energy in the room is palpable.
It's always good.
We also got the man, the myth, the legend, the hero of Tom's River, known from Monmouth and Ocean County, Michael DeGeorge. DeGeorge Realty, how's it going, man?
It's going good, buddy.
You feeling good?
Happy to be here.
Do you like the new studs? Do you like the new setup?
Yeah, this is pretty crazy.
Isn't it pretty wild?
It is. I mean, you know, this guy does a podcast. They're sitting at like a nice wooden table drinking scotch. I feel like in here, like Maury Povich is going to tell me I'm somebody's father.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty nice setup.
You are not the father.
We don't know what's behind that door.
Yeah.
You know.
Epic shouts.
If somebody comes out and starts putting up pictures of kids that look just like me, I'm fucking out of here.
Little DeGeorges. Epic shouts to James, Rec Studios, Rec Productions.
Heyo.
You know, it's always a beautiful, wonderful thing to be in here.
Great setup.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Business is good. You've expanded.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, you know, the real estate market it's a crazy time. This guy will tell you it's nuts.
Yeah, you guys have, over the last year, we've talked about, you know, Aaron, we sitting here talking about how we didn't know what was going to happen.
A year ago, we didn't know what was going to happen. And it just hasn't stopped happening.
And then, you know, real estate has been kind of, do you think is booming the right word?
It's booming, but it's a different kind of market because when you're so limited on what's available, it's not like the transactions are a tremendous amount of them. It is something comes up and 25 people are on top of it. They're taking, you know, 20 offers on it and they're selling things, you know, 20% over value. I mean, it's amazing, but it's not necessarily that it's a booming time in the numbers. It's just, it's a great time. If you're a seller, there is no better time that you could be selling your house in the last, 30, 40 years.
So the locals, the totally locals are selling, are people, is it mostly New Yorkers coming in or is it just people wanting to like reconfigure, downsize, upsize? You know, I want to make sure that the Monmouth and Ocean County is full of people.
Yeah, no, look, I'm not going
here.
to say that this whole COVID, nonsense played a big part in it because we're seeing a mass exodus from the city. I mean, Aaron being in Monmouth on the shore and us being down in Tom's River by the beach, waterfront properties. I mean, I think people are just seeing that they don't have to work anymore in an office every day, and they're hitting the road. So we're seeing a lot of North Jersey, New York clients that.
Don't mind me, my phone is ringing as per usual because I don't know how to fucking mute this thing.
Yeah, that's it. They're fighting to come down because again, I think a lot of them realize they don't have to go to the city, and they're looking at saying, hey, I'll live at the beach and I'll go to work one day a week and I'll work from home the rest. And inventory is just so low that something comes out and people are just on top of it.
People are opening up briefcases of cash and being like, cash is king. They throw money on the table like that, and then people are scooping up the deals.
100%.
You know, my neighbor's house was on the market for like a few days, and then already has the under contract sign.
Days.
I just hope that our neighbors are super cool. Not too cool. I don't want like have party neighbors, but like just nice neighbors that keep to themselves and
Yeah, you got a great neighborhood.
You don't like the party scene anymore? What's wrong with you?
I want the party scene to be in a different zip code.
You're like a 10 a.m. party scene kind of guy.
Yeah, that's like yesterday. I was, but the thing is, I told you guys, I had meetings. It just so happened the first meeting I had was with Bond Street, and they just so happened to have beer there. If I was meeting with, Epic Shout Jersey Shore Marine Group, they got boats there. They were like, you want to go on a boat? You go to Bond Street, they're like, do you want beer? I'm like, well, I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be Yeah.
You can't turn down beer at the beer hall.
I don't want to.
It's been a crazy year. I think all the rules are kind of
They're out the window.
Yeah, everything's kind of flexible these days. Whether you want to drink at 10 a.m., I think that's almost acceptable these days.
Early
as it should be.
COVID, there was like a big thing, like, it's 10 a.m. and I'm home.
Right?
Let's call it happy hour now. And
Crazy.
Yeah.
just keep it going now that the weather's getting nice.
Oh
sunshine,
man,
like,
it's
time to just be out.
Yeah, I'm done with this weather.
Yeah, it's gonna get well. That's what even yesterday was like cold, but I like refused. I'm like, it's sunny out. Was it 47, 50? I'm like, it's good enough. I'm going out. It's a beautiful day. I'm not gonna wear my heavy winter coat. I'm gonna pretend like it's actually warm out and treat it as such.
How's your handsome little guy?
Oh, the kid's doing great. He's a willful boy. He's got his own agenda when it comes to things.
I love that kid.
He loves spatulas for some reason. He collects. It's like he has the toy spatula. He has the felt toy spatula. He has the plastic toy spatula. Then he has the real spatula. Then he has our other spatula. That's like the scoopy kind, not the traditional spatula. But he just collects them all, and he wants me to constantly flip things.
He's gonna be a tank. Wait, he's gonna be a tank.
He's a healthy eater.
Well,
He
now
likes to
Mike
eat.
knows what to get him for Christmas next year.
If you got him a spatula, he would just.
Yeah,
be
I got him the
Scoopy.
wagon.
Oh man.
Heck yeah.
Oh, we can't wait to get out there. Now that everything's kind of thawed out, he's still more interested in he likes shovels outside, so he'll push the shovel
Kinda
around.
like a spatula.
Yeah, I think it's
a
something
big
about
fucking
like
spatula.
I don't know. Yeah, like a bigger spatula, and he
He's a
calls
good
them all
kid.
mops. He calls them all mops or bops or baps. It's like BAPF. He's like baps. I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess it's a bath. That's fine with me. So yeah, and that's kind of shifted everything. Obviously, you guys were talking about bringing kids to school, picking kids up. Everything's kind of shifted around. Your kids are full time.
We're full time. We just booked summer camp, so it's full on.
That's
Good.
great.
Did you get summer camp?
We got summer camp
Good.
booked, but the camp that my kids are going to, Winding Brook and Tinton Falls, summer camp is closed. They're not accepting any more kids
Oh, wow.
because everybody was like,
Yeah.
get these
I
fucking
can't even
kids out of
imagine
the
the
house.
influx of that must have been.
We're out. So it's great. I still want to know about the rest of your day yesterday because I want you to get to the pizza part.
Oh.
That's
Oh, my
that's where
God.
I'm really fucking jealous.
So I leave. I go to Bond Street. Then I leave there. I go to Jersey Shore Marine Group. Hang out with there. They're trying to talk me into going on a boat to go striper fishing, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really.
Yeah, you're not the fishing type.
Yeah, but like they're kind
if
of.
you have Wi-Fi on the boat,
Yeah.
then you're fine.
Yeah,
You'll
exactly.
do a totally local fishing podcast.
Well, I'll do it for the content. I might do it for the gram. Who knows? But if they need me to go on a boat, my dad's been trying to get me to fish since he retired, and I don't want to go fishing because he'll just yell at me that I'm doing it wrong. So I don't want to deal with that. But I might have to go and catch stuff. I'm like, I don't know, aren't those tuna? Aren't they big? He's like talking about like they're talking about fishing for like for tuna and swordfish. I'm like, can I pull that? He's like, yeah, if you're not a pussy. I'm like, all right, well, challenge accepted. I guess I'm either gonna live or die on the water. So I might have to do that. After I met with Jersey Shore Marine Group, I came over here because we have a ton of stuff. I like to talk. I like to interview people. It's
Oh,
kind of
really?
my thing. So they're having some interesting people coming in to Rec Productions to shoot videos. They do all kinds of stuff here. Rec Productions, guys, get in touch with them if you need headshots, if you need anything, you want to sit down for an interview, you want to make some videos. It's truly amazing to be in here. And if you need anything, they got you covered. They're having a rapper come in, and I'm like, I want to interview this woman. She seems very, very, Tati, I believe is her name, Tatiana.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And thank you for the shout out.
So yeah, no problem. And so I want to come in here. I was talking to them about interviewing her before she does her rap video. In the video, she had a lovely, athletic young woman clasping a gallon of Hennessy, a Hennessy bottle in her butt cheeks in the video, and she wasn't just straining; she was
God bless her.
casually, this performer. Toddy was surrounded by women dancing, and one of them just happened to clench this handle of Hennessy in her butt crack.
Can Dave put the picture-in-picture up on the
I don't know.
Actually,
Or is that censored?
I can do that for you.
That's
Give me a
family
couple minutes.
programming. We'll save it.
I definitely want to see that.
We'll send. If you could get the screenshot up
definitely
of
wanna
just
see
the butt. The butt. It's
You know,
really
listen,
something to
You want
behold.
more people to watch. You got to put the butt
Yeah,
up.
I guess
seriously, you
so. We
should've
got to get
led with
her in
that.
here.
That should have been your lead off.
I mean, I got to save the good stuff for for later in the show. Anyway, so I came in here. We talked about that. We talked about doing some more interview. Obviously, we've got the next shooting for Aaron's podcast and insurance is next Tuesday. We're gonna do some more shots
Next
for
Tuesday,
that.
we got Matt
Who you
Cohen.
gonna have on yours?
Matt Cohen from Two Rivers Titles coming in. We're talking cyber because the cyber and all the crime going on
Crazy.
in the cyber world with all these hackers and criminals is fucking nuts.
Nice.
So we're going to dive deep into that, get a little bit technical. Then I have Joe Astorita, a lawyer that's been on the show twice before on Totally Local, is coming
Joe.
in, and we're going to dive really deep into commercial leasing contracts.
Oh, nice.
What small businesses get themselves tied into that they don't know that they're tying themselves into
Good.
because they
That's
don't hire a
helpful.
lawyer.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of dive into that. So two pretty good topics that we're going to talk about next week, and
The commercial stuff
pretty,
is
pretty excited.
like with people opening up. It's amazing that people are they're seeing an opportunity in expanding, and you're dealing with this with like commercial real estate in the area. And I find that it's kind of a Tatiana. I find it's kind of interesting to like. Maybe I'm just a novice, and when I was introduced to it, I didn't understand like triple net and taxes, all that stuff. When you're dealing with like mom and pops or
in the
local
monitor,
people,
it's
do
not
they
on the-
understand how like the rents are different? Like when you talk about a rent for an apartment, it's not the same. In commercial, it's like by the square foot. Like, do people understand that stuff when you're talking to them?
It depends. I mean, somebody starting out in their first business definitely doesn't. And, explaining to them that not only are they paying what their rent is, they're going to pay, what it takes to carry this building from expenses, real estate taxes, insurances. Their portion of that building is going to be a prorated share of what their fee is for everything. And it can get expensive. I mean, for a mom and pop type business, getting into a retail center that has, a lot of triple net and cam can, add 30% to your rent.
That's
But
why.
you know what? I'm amazed. There's a lot for how things are business wise. I've been seeing a lot of things unfortunately are closing, but we're still seeing a lot of new things. We're still seeing people taking shots at new businesses and different types of businesses than in the past. But it's at least positive that things I feel like are moving in a good direction where as bad as they are with the economy and with businesses, I feel like people are they're attempting it. They're getting out and trying.
That's cool.
I think we're going to see a lot of that come spring. Like I'm hopeful, and I've been hopeful, and we've talked about this, that now that the warmer weather is coming and states are starting to unlock, and hopefully New Jersey unlocks, people are coming back. Small businesses are going to pick up. People have been sitting with these ideas and side hustles going on, and so I think we're going to see a lot of that small business stuff come to fruition this spring, which I'm hopeful for because I want to write a lot more insurance for these people. And Mike wants to lease all these people, more space and get these shopping centers filled out, and it'll be great.
I want to interview them for the show. So if there's anyone out there,
We
that's
got to do like a
open to
side hustle Thursday type of show. We just got to get.
There's some good ones out there. People that were stuck home, I'm sure there's some good side hustles that people have been working from home and that get, probably progressed into something that they can take into something better.
I've been
Yeah.
passing that food truck, your sister's balls or whatever. Have you heard about that meatball truck?
Yeah.
No.
I
There's
haven't
a-
been there, but
great
it looks
name.
good.
Yeah, it is a great name.
Your
I've been
sister's
seeing
balls.
it driving down 34. I see it parked, and I'm just like, it's stuff like that where you see people. I saw them when they started. I think they started before, or maybe during, like when everything broke out. And just to see people like that keep succeeding. I know that one of the last Roy Rogers in all of the world is in like Tom's River.
Yeah, it's great.
Is
freaking
it
love
still
that
there?
place. Heck
I
yeah.
love Roy Rogers.
Oh God, I love
You know
Roy.
who
Tell.
knows your sister's balls? Kevin, K-Shev, inspired by K-Shev. I think it's like his brother or cousin
Oh,
or something
really?
like that.
Oh, nice.
You
Epic
know.
shouts, K-Shev. He's doing it. He's somebody that's really kind of taking the ball, run with it, motivating people, entrepreneurial spirit. You got to love that.
I think we got to get him back on.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Back in the studio.
Back in the studio. Bring him here.
He's a headset kind of guy. He needs a headset. He needs to walk around and just tell people, like, you can do it.
We'll do it here, but we'll take the couches away and we'll just walk around the
Yeah.
studio.
We'll get, like, some dancers. and
background dancers.
some Hennessy
Yes.
butt clenchers. Anyway, what are some of the, is there anything that stands out as far as people you've worked with recently or during this whole thing where they've opened up and you've been like, this is a great idea, anything like that going on down in the, what I like to call the South, Ocean County, Toms River, that area. Anything interesting going on down there?
I mean, look, we're definitely seeing some good expansion, even from like some regional, nationwide brands that are coming into, areas that they haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but the bottom line is we got to open. We got to open up. This is crazy. I mean,
people are ready.
Right.
just to see restaurants where, there's zero logic to anything. I walk in wearing a mask and then I take it off 10 feet away. Like, let these people have customer. I mean, the margins in those businesses are so small where, when you tell a business that works on a certain margin that they can occupy at 30%, 25%, just tell them to close. It just doesn't work like that. We already live in an area where things are so expensive. Rents are so expensive. Everything people sell, they want every penny out of. So it's not like anybody's giving anything away. So these guys run on, tight margins to have to do business, and it makes it impossible. It's impossible until they let up these restrictions. These people are going to just take beatings every day.
It's amazing that they, I don't even know how you kind of plan that out, or if you plan it out at all, like where you're just kind of stressed, where you're like, how am I going to make the next month, or what am I going to do? Have you guys seen that dude Dave Portnoy, the Barstool Sports guy? He's
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's like raising
love
money,
that guy.
and then he like does these. He'll do these FaceTimes with the owners, and the owners are just like, holy, like
Freaking out. Kimmy from Confections of a Rock Star was a beneficiary of it. She was able to reopen. She was closed for a period of time, and
so cool.
She was actually able to reopen with that. And it's
but
one
how
of those
sad
things
is that?
that's a huge
This
help.
guy is doing more for these small businesses than the friggin' government is.
Yeah.
Like that speaks volumes. That and they don't even care. I mean, he makes the government look like idiots, and this guy's out there doing it.
Yeah, and there's more people that could be doing obviously things like that. The government should be doing it because I thought it was their job. Maybe it's not their job. I don't know what their job is anymore.
I don't know what it is either.
But it's good to hear those stories. It's sad to hear stories of some place where like I was supporting. There's a couple restaurants, especially in Asbury Park, that just couldn't. In the beginning, you're trying to support them, and then they just they can't make it because you're saying that the margins are so tight.
And how do you tell people like they work so hard? How do you tell them like close your business? Like sorry. You're out of business.
What's the deal? Is it 50%, 25%, and then they're waiting till?
We're at 35%, and I'm hopeful
measure
that
that?
once we get past the St. Patrick's Day holiday, like that we get to that 50% and the bars can open. Like I want to sit at a bar. I went away last week,
God.
2 weeks ago.
How crazy is it that we're sitting here debating the rights that we've lost? And we're like, hopefully it'll be 30%.
Hopefully I could go.
Hopefully
I want that extra
the government's gonna
3%.
tell me I can have a beer. Like it's so freaking
Can I have a beer at a bar?
Yeah.
I went away
It's
by
amazing.
myself. I went skiing, and my wife's like, "Oh, you're gonna go to the restaurant?" I'm like, "I don't want to sit at a table by myself. I feel like a loser, but I'm
love
also
it.
like
Same
awkward.
thing.
I'm like, I just want to sit at a
I'm
bar
gonna sit at the bar
like
and have one beer.
Yeah.
and
Not at a
socialize
table by
with
myself like a
random weirdos
psycho.
in the Catskills. I mean, that's that would have been my joy, but instead I didn't. But
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah, I sitting in Bond Street at the bar. There was nobody in there, so whatever. I was sitting at the bar by the window, the ledge there, and I was just like, "This is great. Too bad there's not a bunch of people yelling and like, a bunch of jean jackets and people sitting around like doing whatever they're doing. I got to listen to the awesome playlist at Bond Street while everybody was getting ready for their shift, getting ready to open up. But I'm like, man, it'll be so nice to open up. And then as I was going about my day, when I left Rect, I went over to Bellworks, which reminds me of Total Recall, like the original one with Arnold Schwarzenegger, because it's all like, it's huge. There's all this random stuff going on, and all these different random shops in there, but you walk in and it's just enormous. And I go to Corbo and Sons. They open at 3, so the doors open up, and I'm sitting there. I'm sitting at the thing, talking Epic Shouts, Adam Simmons and More podcast, the best pizza in all of the land. Go to Corbo and Sons. Tell Adam I sent you, and he'll make it especially extra nice. Although he does that for everybody, but he'll give you a wink and a smile. Probably does that for everybody too. Anyway,
He's wearing a
so
mask. You can't tell the smile.
I sit down and I'm like, I don't know the rules. So I'm like, can I, now that my ass is in a seat, can I take the mask down so I can eat my pizza and enjoy my lovely Epic Shouts Jug Handle Brewery? The lovely coconut vanilla porter they have is top notch. And they're like, yeah, you could sit down, you could take your mask off. I'm like, all right, cool. It'd be nice if I could talk to people that were working. They all are obviously, regulators, mount up, they're taking care, they're doing it all the way they're supposed to do it. But, it's kind of weird when you're sitting somewhere and you don't have a mask on and then the people all around you are walking around.
Look, if there was logic to any of this, I would follow it. I'm not bagging on Corona saying it's not what it was. It is what it is, but when you take any of the logic out of it and you make up arbitrary things that just don't make sense to regular people, like, yeah, I can walk past you and have this on, but if I sit down, I don't need, like, that kind of stuff makes people have a big animosity towards this whole process. Because,
question everything.
Again, if you were just making sense with your logic. They lost me in the beginning do you remember in the beginning when they initiated a curfew? It was like, okay, 8 o'clock, like, what are you saying? That at past 8 o'clock, I'm more likely to catch a virus? None of that made any sense.
You're going to turn into a gremlin is what happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what it seemed like.
They were preventing the apocalypse.
We had rules like we were going to the gremlins. Like if I told you a year ago at Thanksgiving, this time next year, your kids are not going to be in school. You can't go to work. Half the people are going to be out of a job. You would laugh and you would think that can never happen. But you know what? In a year's time, enough progression, that's how it goes.
Yeah, well, that's where we are now. So hopefully as the weather gets warmer, things open up and they keep it open. I mean, what else can you hope for? And I'm sure you guys weren't thinking about this. You both are entrepreneurs, you're business people, you're visionaries, you think ahead, you want to work for yourself because you know that working for the man is a bunch of bullshit. So you guys both started your businesses, I think roughly around the same time in the mean streets of Long Branch.
Brighton Avenue.
Brighton Avenue.
In the West End.
You've got your roots in Long Branch. Your family, has their business in Long Branch. You've obviously they've expanded. But did you grow up in Long Branch?
No, Ocean Township.
Oh, okay, cool.
But it was Baby DeGeorge and Baby Levine on Brighton Avenue. Mm-hmm. It's when you could walk outside and go to the Mix at 4 in the afternoon and have another phenomenal pizza. The 4 cheese, Sam, I miss it, and a black martini or a berry martini, and just fucking black out for the rest of the night.
Man, Aaron, what year did you guys open on Brighton?
It was 2009.
Yep, right around. So we were on the same time frame. Like even with I was a few years. We were 2007, and I think your kids were two years younger than mine, but we were very close on like the same time.
I had no kids. That's when I was sleeping in the office because I would just pass out and wake up, go back to the computer with no pants on and do whatever I had to do. Because
we had a great. The street was amazing. We had great guys, like other young guys that owned some businesses.
So much
shout
fun.
out to Juniors, Bagel Guys Deli. Like these were, Sam and Michael from the Mix. Like these were all. Such a community on that street that it was a pleasure.
It was awesome.
We had such good times.
We had a good time.
So when you guys started your business, I imagine it'd be that same kind of thing. Like you both have to go network. You both have to go talk to people. Were you just kind of going down the street introducing yourselves, or did you kind of have already a relationship? You were working with another real estate company that kind of showed you the ropes, and then you went out on your own.
Yeah, I mean, me and this guy we were out, plugging every day. I mean, even with just locally things we would go to, he would go to, like things that there was a good local community of younger business guys that were trying to do some stuff. So we definitely pounded the streets.
A lot of chamber stuff, a lot of networking events, just a lot of just being out there, and that's what I tell anybody. My new hires that are coming to work for me is you still got to get out there, and you have to find a way to get out there differently now. And I'm hoping to, throw a party, host an event soon. We keep talking about it. I mean, I'm like ready to, secure a date at the distillery or somewhere else and have at it.
Multiple events.
I'm itching to just throw all my money into a bar and get everybody drunk and have a good time doing it, and then we'll wake up the next day and sell some insurance to everybody.
That sounds perfect. That sounds like a good time. I was just talking about that as far as you have to. There's a certain amount. You could do whatever you want to do online and whatever likes and follows, great. But you really have to talk to a human being. Has to talk to another human being. You have to meet with them. You have to have that interaction with them to get anything done.
You got to go shake hands. You got to go out and shake hands with people.
Some people don't. Some people don't understand that. If you, I know you're on a tight schedule, Aaron. So if you,
I'm like itching. I'm like looking at the clock. I've got an 11:45 call. I'm gonna make a rude exit. I'm gonna make an exit in about like 2.5 minutes.
It's great to have you either way. I'm so glad
The Irish exit.
Yeah.
I'm keeping the mic on my lapel and I'm out the door. And you'll listen to me all the way down the road
That's
for as long
perfect.
as the Wi-Fi connects.
That works. That works for me.
We had good times those years, though. All through like the mid 2000s. Like,
I couldn't handle,
His
you
office
know.
was next to Jack's, the bar.
Oh damn.
I
God,
might go to Jack's later.
Nice.
I might wind up at Jack's later.
best place.
What? So was it the big storm there? What made you guys kind of? I mean, you're still in Long Branch. You moved down the road, but you shifted from where you were.
Well, so my original building at 135 Brighton, where I had single space, we had the same landlord.
We had the same landlord, yeah.
And then I eventually expanded, took a space upstairs, and then that building got demolished 3 years ago or so, and is now a giant building that's going to have some cool retail. So maybe I'll look to go back to West End, but I'm in West Long Branch now. I love my landlord. My building's awesome.
Yeah, the building's sweet.
We just did a great photo shoot last week, thanks to the Gooch, Michael Guccione.
Gooch. Epic shouts to Michael Guccione.
So I love my building now, and it's so much closer than West End sucks. You're not convenient to anywhere except the beach.
And you know what? We had the last couple good years at West End because
Yes.
we had, for us, we got wrecked by the storm. Like, so we had offices on the beach. Sandy came through the first hour of the storm. A huge piece of plywood from one of the high rises went through our window.
Oh, geez.
So that was it. The next 24 hours, 48 hours, the storm just wrecked us. We all our street got wrecked. We cleaned up after a few months, and then that year, remember there was the fire.
There was the fire down the
And
street. Holy
10
shit.
buildings on our street burned down.
What?
And one morning, I walked out of the office. It was next to our building. It was the old video store.
Right.
And yeah, it was smoking. And next thing you know, it was 13 apartments that burned down,
Whoa.
6 buildings. Yeah, it was right next to us. We thought we were.
Right, now you got the
done
new
for
Bagel
week.
Guys building. You got the next building that just opened up. There's a
Yep.
coffee shop in it. And then there'll be the third building should hopefully
It made
start
it right to the
construction
mix.
soon. What's
Right,
that?
it made it right to the lighthouse and the mix.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
at one specific time, I mean, it was just pushing down the street, burning every building. And I just remember it was right at noon, and the wind switched, and it went the opposite way. And it gave them a chance, and they were able to get everything
cool.
under control. But yeah, we
It was a
lost half the
wildfire.
street then.
I got to
That's-
find some pictures, but I definitely have some pictures.
Yeah, I
from
want to
but
see that. It's
was
pretty
2000
wild.
2013.
Yep.
When was that?
Probably 2014,
14?
right around there.
I gotta check that out. But listen,
'Cause just
I'm
now
gonna,
the street's
I'm gonna
getting
jet.
built
I gotta go make money.
Go make
I
money.
love being here.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Great seeing you.
Yo,
Always.
nice to see you.
Glad
His
to
hair
hear the
got a little
family's doing
gray. It's all great.
Everyone's getting a little older, a little bolder.
Yeah.
Oh
This guy
man,
don't have a gray hair in his head. Look at him. Looks like he's 30.
he takes it pretty easy when he's not doing some serious serious business. He's relaxing. He was taking some time to do a little golf yesterday. I saw him out there. He's wondering. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing out these places?" I'm like, "Buddy, I'm following you too. I know you're doing the same
He's
thing."
a good dude. He really.
Oh, Aaron's the man.
Yeah, he like I said, we were on the same track when we were just starting out, and it was nice. Him and I had a nice relationship. We were both kind of trying to do the same thing at the same time, and yeah, I always respected him. He's a good kid.
Yeah, and he's crushing it now. He's still doing it. It's amazing to see. There was a point maybe a year and a half ago. My son's gonna be born. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm like, I don't know if I could sustain working for myself for I don't know. I was gonna throw it in, but
It's
it's
not
like.
easy.
It's not easy, but on the flip side of that, I don't want to answer to some corporate overlord and being a cubicle. I've done that before. I've worked at a business where they started small. The guy started his business out of his house. Then he got a little bigger. He got an office space. And then one day I look around. We moved to Eatontown, and I look around, and I'm in a fucking cubicle, and I'm like, this is. It's like that movie Office Space. I was like, I don't want I don't want to do this.
Yeah, but you're progressing, and you're.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I survived.
You can't obviously take that leap when you have, no safety net behind
Yeah.
you, but you're progressing to where you get to a point where you feel like, all right, I'm covered enough that I can handle this for this amount of time.
Yeah.
And transition to that being something, you're
Yeah.
on your own. And
Well, that's what. Yeah, once you're off and running, it's just like I can't imagine like kind of going
you got
back.
a baby, you gotta.
Yeah. Well, it definitely lights a fire under your ass when you have a little child at home, like.
Definitely.
So I mean, you obviously dealt with that with your business, running your own business, and then but the interesting thing with you is you had your office in Long Branch, but then you opened one up. You had one in Tom. Did you have an office in Tom's River, like prior to the whole storm and shenanigans that went on?
So, being from there, our family's company has a development company in Brick.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, at the time, we had rebuilt from the storm. We had the fire, and the street was basically gone. We were missing 11 buildings, so there was just no traffic on the street. So at that time, we opened Brick, which was probably 2010, 2011. And then closed Long Branch not too long after that. I want to go back to Long Branch eventually. I love that city. I lived
What's
there
it?
for 20 years.
Kushner owns like half the town or half the waterfront. Doesn't he own a bunch of the property down there?
They do.
And he's
They
not
do.
doing. Why don't you think they're developing it right now? They're just squeezing it until it's like, are they trying to get people out of there?
No,
or-
it looks amazing right now. It used to be the oceanfront at Long Branch. You couldn't even walk your dog down there. Somebody would
Yeah,
shoot
but
you.
what about so Pier Village is there and that's popping off. Epic Shouts Wine
Pier
Loft.
Village has phase 3, that they're finished.
When are they going to go across the ocean, like Ocean Boulevard?
So, the lower Broadway, so the end of Broadway where it meets Ocean Ave, you have like the CVS at the end. There's that piece. That's like a 20-acre double tract of land. They've been fighting over that for 10 years.
What do you mean
easily.
fighting it to what?
It used to be where Sipperstein's factory was.
Mm-hmm.
And, at a time they did an overlay zoning, which made it a redevelopment zone. So there was only certain people that could do it. A local family that, had some investment in it. They were doing it for a couple of years. Then another company was doing it. And I just read, like, this past week that the previous development deal is falling apart. And I think Kushner has something to do with wanting to take it over.
Why does shit like that fall apart? Is this bureaucratic bullshit with the town?
Tons of it.
What the
And it's a lot of money. I mean, you're talking about developing a tract like that. That's, you're talking $100 million worth of properties and buildings, but it just seems like the oceanfront at least did go through that. The changes at the oceanfront are absolutely amazing. The look of it now, it's almost Miami Beach style.
It's nice over there.
But I think
Rooney's
lower
is
Broadway will get there. Broadway was always a tough street.
I mean, it used to be like back like in the swinging jazz days, they had stuff going, but then it just kind of just crumpled and fell apart. But I'm
Long
just
Branch
like,
was the shit back in the day.
it's, I can't like it's amazing to see it where it's just like, wow, you're so close to the ocean, but it's just this wasteland. Having the Cyperstein's factory there? I wonder if that had anything. Is there like environmental issues?
No, it's gone. Everything's been torn down for years. It's just vacant now. But when you're dealing with such big projects and big companies, and people are suing each other over this and not being able to do that, it just takes forever.
I mean, especially with the market right now, if they started building stuff, it would be scooped up like instantaneously.
The stuff that they're building on the ocean, I can't even believe what they're selling it for. It's amazing.
It's crazy. The prices are crazy. I couldn't even. You mentioned CVS on Ocean. Like I couldn't when that went in. Like if you would have told me that years ago, I would have been like, "There's no way that you would put a what is that, 12,000 square foot CVS like right there? Like who is around here?" But they did it. It popped up, and I'm like, "Holy crap!"
No, and Long Branch is one of the only. I mean, if you look up and down the coast, most of the towns on the coast vacate in the winter. Long Branch is one of the only cities. Asbury, over the years, which has changed a little bit, but they were always a city that kept a winter population that was relatively close. Obviously, there's a huge influx that comes in for the summer from out-of-towners, but it's still a city that functions on the water. But from a real estate aspect, it's tough to land a commercial building like that. Like I tried to get Burger King to come to Long Branch for 10 years. And, if you look at it from the perspective of, you're a commercial business, you go off a demographic. You go off of a circle demographic of 5 miles. How many people can I draw from this area? You can't count fish.
Yeah.
So when you put, you try to do it by the water and you try to present them
Half
with
your
numbers,
circle is like out in the sea.
why waste it? They're like,
Yeah.
well, why don't we just go 4 miles inland and we'll take from everywhere? But
They just don't get it though that like there's this influx of traffic, and also if you go inland, you're it's a whole different market than what you're And then I wonder if like businesses like that, bigger businesses, even consider like competition. Like if they don't take it, then a McDonald's, or if they don't take it, a Chick-fil-A or somebody else will take it.
Same as like some of those places, want to be next to each other. You know, if you're Quick Check, they want to be the opposite corner of Wawa. If you're McDonald's, they want to be the opposite corner of Burger King.
I see Wawas, they pop up in like places where I'm like, holy, like in the middle of nowhere. It's just a giant Wawa. It's like like a UFO came and just like, boom, like planted a Wawa right there.
I love
Wawa.
Wawa.
I mean, it's a classic. It's a New Jersey staple.
God, you gotta love Wawa.
So I mean, what's the growth like? Are we looking like I always I always tell people Whiting. I'm like, you have nowhere else to go if all else fails. Go to Whiting. You want to buy a house. You have your mom wants to go into an adult community. Go to Whiting. That's the place to be. And they're like, Whiting. They're like, why Whiting? I'm like, why not Whiting?
Yeah, don't go to Whiting.
Heard it here first, folks.
No, it's it's
Where's
crazy.
the town? Where can people go? Why do people think so poorly of poor Brick? People say Brick like it's a 4-letter
Brick
word.
does get a bad rap.
It's a huge, like
It does.
like apologetically, people will be like, "Yeah, we moved, we got a new house. It's in Brick." I'm like, dude, don't feel bad. I give him a little hug. I'm like, come on, man, like, own it.
It does get a bad rap. I love
does.
Brick though.
Yeah.
I love Brick. Our business has been in Brick forever. Forever.
Brick, there's a lot of land out there. There's a lot of growth. I mean,
Yeah, shout out Brick Schools. When everyone else was staying home, they sent our kids back. Now they're 4 days a week. So I'm lucky. I'm thankful for that because it could be way worse.
How are the kids like? They're dealing with this whole mandated silliness.
It sucks. It sucks.
They get it though. They understand what's going on, or they accept it easier than adults, maybe.
Definitely. And you know what? Kids go along with things way easier. They put their masks on as soon as they're out of they wear them in the car sometimes. They're so easily acceptable of what's going on. But it's doing horrible shit to the kids. I can see it with mine, personality-wise, behavior-wise. It is having some super negative impacts.
Do you think because it's just you don't have that like interpersonal communication, they're not getting those social cues?
It's everything. They need to be social. Look, when I was in 2nd grade, I hated my teacher. Now I'm the friggin' teacher. My fucking kid hates me because I got to be on him every second, telling him what to do. And I had to have a talk with their mother, who thankfully I have a good relationship with, and she was very understanding. She was like, "Look, I don't want you to be in that situation. Like, I understand. This is ridiculous. Like, I have to be on this kid and like yelling at him like I'm his teacher." I hated my teacher. I want to be his dad. I don't want that part of my relationship.
You want to both be hating on the teacher.
I'm done with this. I want to be on his side, hating the teacher.
Do you have to like? So are they going over stuff? And like to me, I don't know what kids are learning. Like when I hear about like what certain kids are learning in high school, I'm like, I didn't learn that in high school. I don't even know it now. But like, are they learning stuff now? Like younger? Like are they teaching them things where you have to learn it because you have to teach it to them?
No, I mean, I'm not about to go do, the weird math that they do now. Like, I won't even attempt that stuff. I don't care about any of that stuff.
Do they get it? Because I saw that stuff and I'm like, I don't get it.
It's nonsense.
You can't. It's not subtraction anymore. It's called something else.
Common Core. They draw like pictures and they make graphs instead of just adding the numbers. They like write them all out. It's insanity.
What is it based on? We've got to get a teacher in here to teach us what the hell is.
It's based on your government 5 years ago, 6 years ago, made a deal with a company to develop a new system of math that was going to be distributed in the country, and then miraculously, that same company, after the president was not the president, gave him a book deal for $20 million, and that pretty much equals out why we have this ridiculous nonsense.
Dummy them down.
What'd you say,
Dummy
Jim?
them down. You know what I mean? Drink the Gatorade. Water's bad.
Thanks, James. It's insane. I'm glad people are adjusting and like, doing most people. There's a lot of people out there that aren't doing great, like mentally, physically. It's really sad.
And I think of myself being like a relatively strong-minded person, and I see how much this affects me. And I think, people that have certain issues and certain sensitivities to things that this could really, mess them up. I mean, it's a tough time. Look at the stuff that came out this week. when you can like clearly see that suicides are like doubling, I mean, that is, you know, what evidence more do you need than that? Obviously, this is like hard evidence that says the effects of what you're doing far outweigh the effects of something that 99.5% of the people's natural immune system handled by itself. I'm not saying it's not, you know, a certain portion of the population age-wise, yes, you have to be absolutely vigilant and cautious about what you're doing because you are very susceptible. But now we've been involved in this for a year. We understand it. We understand how it affects kids in ways that are almost non-existent. Mm-hmm. But we're still in the mindset that, you know, we're going to stick to the way things are going. We feel like keeping things closed down has any benefit. And now it's starting to come out that, you know, kids hurting themselves, kids, you know, with suicide, with just anxiety and mental disorders is skyrocketing. So there is evidence now that can absolutely justify why they need to change what they're doing and send these kids back to school, because there's actually hard evidence. Instead of them saying I've been told by people for a year, trust the science, scientists. Okay, so like clear science comes out, and then they're like, don't trust that science. That's, you know, let's talk about this over here. Mm-hmm. So it's crazy. I feel bad for our kids. I really, really feel bad for them.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, somebody we mutually know was doing like teachers' aid work in New York, and she's in the classroom with the students, all masked up, and then the teacher is like a little robot, like screen, like camera or whatever, and the teacher's in a bunker somewhere.
How crazy is that?
Yeah.
What does that say to that person, that aide, that you're saying, look, you're going to come into this classroom because
you're expendable.
We feel like the teacher's not saying.
Yeah. Well, it's a union thing too. I'm sure the
100%,
teachers.
100%. But they would send this girl in to do that job while the teacher is on a TV screen. I mean, that makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, that's the world we're living in now. That nothing makes sense.
It's a shame.
You know, I went down, you know, we've talked conspiracies before, and like I went down like a friggin', in the beginning, I was going down all these rabbit holes, and I had to like I had to be like, look, I cannot, every now and then I look at stuff, I keep it to myself, I'm like, wow, that's strange. But I was going down these rabbit holes of like, and you start going down them, and you're just like, oh boy.
And look, a lot of it, when you do, you know, obviously there's a lot of crazy stuff out there, but there's a lot of it that makes sense. And you think to yourself, you know, who is benefiting from doing this? Who is benefiting from doing this? And you know what, my brother we had talked about it months ago, and you know, just for the basis of like, what could really be the basis behind it all. And you know what it comes down to? This bill that they're passing right now for $2 trillion, that was like the caveat of it all. Like it gave them, you know, when you want to pass a ridiculous piece of legislation that gives money to everyone that's donated to every campaign from here to who knows where, you know, in normal circumstances, the public would reject that. They would think that's outrageous. But you slap a $1,500 check in there and you say, these people aren't voting for this because they don't want you to get your check. Mm-hmm. That gives a weird perception that people feel like it's directly tied to it. They have nothing to do with each other. They could have did a bill for a quarter of that and said, all this money goes to the people. We're giving it to businesses. We're giving it to people to help their rent, to help their aid, whatever. I don't need to give money to other countries right now. Yeah. I don't want to build bridges. I don't want to start a rail system that billionaires could build by themselves. This is something where they're just hiding the fact that they're giving away $2 trillion in a bill that says, if you don't vote for this, you don't care about the public, you don't care about the people getting their money, whatever that they want to say. But it comes down to, I think all of it is this bill of $2 trillion, that these states are going to get hundreds of billions to fill up their pensions, to clean up all the dumb shit that they did for years. They're going to give a couple bucks to the people that they made stay home for a year, and they're like, I'll take this $1,600 and shut up.
I can understand that being like to me, and I don't know shit about shit, but I'm just like, great, you want to give a check. if you're going to give a check, they should be giving it monthly, because how is a check for 15, 20,
does that
2,000?
do?
How's that going to help anybody for the months and months and months and months and months? It doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, you have like going on and looking at the news right now well, it's always been, well, it hasn't always been, but right now especially, it's a joke. I could care less about Lady Gaga's fucking dogs being kidnapped. That sucks.
Yeah, that's what it's come down to.
You know, my heart goes out to those dogs. That's really sad. But is that that's headline news? And then there's a follow-up story about they found the dog. I'm like, I don't give a shit about those dogs. Like, sad, truly sad. But should that be like the number one thing I see if I open up social media, or if I want to learn about what's going on in the world?
But what does that tell you?
That they're just distracting you.
Exactly. When we're saying, why do they vote in Congress at midnight?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you vote at midnight unless you're doing something that you don't want the public to see you do, and you're pushing it through at midnight? We have the biggest bill ever in history being passed. We have the friggin' accomplice of the biggest pedophile blackmailer in history in custody for 9 months. You know what we talked about this week? That this fucking plastic potato has a wiener, and my daughter has to suck it up and let dudes beat her in sports and congratulate them and tell them that they're courageous that they just beat a girl, and that's what we're spending our time talking about. So that just shows you, they say, just look, let's talk about this nonsense shit, let this go by. I don't even feel like we have a president. I mean, I don't. It's like I feel like this guy is any bit presidential. I don't hear from the guy. I mean, it's just a crazy time. Things are really getting out of control.
I really think that when you call a potato head a Mr. Potato Head, you show respect. Mrs. Potato Head, you show respect. But when you call that Mr. Potato Head, you just say potato head, it sounds like you're insulting him. It sounds like you're using a derogatory term, like,
None
hey,
of it
potato
makes
head.
any sense.
No, it
None
doesn't.
of it.
And that's the headlines. That's what people are like arguing about is stuff like that. It's just like, man, I don't get it. I'm glad that when I go out and I talk to people locally, when I go meet them face to face, all that stuff is all put to the wayside, and people are friendly.
It's all TV shit.
Yeah,
Nothing's like that.
When you go and talk to people, all that stuff that people talk about when you're anonymous and you're online doesn't really come up when you're sitting there face to face with somebody.
100%.
No one's gonna really do stuff, like where they're gonna confront you about like silly stuff like that. So I think
I think they really push it where there's such a small minority, I think, that believes this stuff, but it's amplified. When you have all of the media that backs that small majority, it gives the impression to people that there are so many more people that believe this. I mean, look, when it comes to your political beliefs, I'm happy to debate with anyone, and I'm fine that you think that way. I think nothing negative you personally just for the way you are, but I think even those people that are very different than me look at this stupid stuff and go, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But again, there's a push by certain groups that get amplified that, Dr. Seuss is a racist. Like, we're just getting into stupid shit now that is so beyond rational thinking that I worry that by the time our kids get to like a reasonable age, who knows where we're going to be?
Robots, man, artificial intelligence, the UFOs that they're putting on us, which it's interesting to we've talked about this before, but it's interesting to see that where people are just talking about, oh, there was a UFO the other day, and it's like in the news now where they're not even saying like
drip. Have you seen that lately? This year especially, there's been so much UFO stuff.
The pilot
this year.
in New Mexico.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but it flew over. It's like, you know what it was. It was a UFO, buddy.
And even now, though, those guys, like back in the day, the pilots would have sightings and they didn't want to say anything. They didn't want to lose their job. Yeah. Now they're coming out and they're like, look, I got this shit on video. I'm not crazy. This is what I saw.
That was some of the fun stuff that I got into on TikTok was the UFO stuff. But it's hard. You watch some of it and you're like, all right, now you have drones going into the air. So you're like, is that a UFO or is that just a drone? Or you have stuff where it's like, is that generated somehow, or the stuff that they're pushing. It's weird because sometimes they'll push a story in the news and it's like there was a UFO sighting, and then all of a sudden there will be like this other UFO sighting on top of it that's pushed in the news, whereas the one that I was originally looking at is not pushed. So it's like they're kind of, putting certain things out there and then putting, hiding other things.
Look, they're only telling us what they want us to see. Just understand that. No matter what, whatever drip they give us of little things, this we saw, they're only doing that to give us just what they want us to be seeing. But,
And we just gotta,
who knows?
We're just kind of like going through the motions.
It's getting a lot more mainstream, though. You've been seeing, like, look, for the aliens, they look at us and they're like, who are these? Look at these psychos. Like, if I was an alien and I came here, I'd get to our planet and I'd run as fast as I could to get away from us. We're like friggin' beyond retarded. It's amazing.
It's amazing how, it's if you look at it from an outsider's perspective on that level, and you're just like, wow, like, what the hell are they doing? Why are they messing with Mr. Potato Head like that? I'm out of here. I'm
those
gone.
guys, they're like a highly advanced species. They could be like 1 billion years ahead of us. They were like looking at us and they're like, God, these guys are like, less than farm animals, and then we'll come back in another 1 million years. Maybe, hopefully they're reasonable. We're like spraying each other with Lysol and shit.
Did you watch that documentary? I was watching it again the other night, and my wife was like, "You're watching this again?" I'm like, "I love it." It's that dude, the Peter Greer. He did the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where he's like meditating and like contacting the UFOs. They have all these it's a great the documentary. I watch it mostly for the footage. I want to see the cool footage and stuff. But it was pretty interesting how he kind of touches on some of the topics.
They say that like the meditation end of it, that's how they've said over the years that like certain famous people who have done amazing things, they said went into like trance-like states. Like Einstein, they say, used to, and some of them did drugs to do it. And they would get into like heavy trance-like states and said that they were able to pick things up from, even musicians, like famous like composers, like Mozart, people like that. There's famous ones that have said that like, these were not my ideas. These things came to me in certain, so I totally believe that the monks and the religions that do meditation as a serious concept, and that they train their bodies to, it's a lifelong thing. But some of those guys, they say, reach levels of certain connection with things. Look, there's way more going on than we have any idea.
Man.
As humans, we know shit about shit. 60 years ago, we didn't let black people use the same bathroom as us.
Yeah.
Like, as a species, we're like,
we're dumb.
We're just dummies. Like, as far as we've come. So, like, there's so much more to it that stuff.
Well, and they cover I have friends that are archaeologists. I have friends that are scientists, and there's certain things that they won't even consider. And maybe I'm crazy for considering them, like the idea of ancient civilizations, that people considered in South America and Mexico. They're like, oh, but they didn't come up to Georgia. They didn't come up. They're like, no. But there's all these like covered mounds.
Identical pyramids, hundreds of thousands of thousands of miles away. How does that happen in a civilization that, you are where you are?
Or, oh, cool. Chat's on screen. What's up? All right. Oh, hey, guys. Aaron's, is he still, oh yeah, he's still listening. What's up, Aaron? Yeah. So what's it called? It's great. I was listening to, and I can't go down these rabbit holes because I'm like, I got to focus on work. But like, sometimes I'll like pick something up on like, oh, there used to be giants, which people think is crazy.
Definitely.
But they allegedly found like these giant bones. And
numerous countries have found humongous skeletons,
and they've dumped them in like in the ocean. They've just been like, "Oh, we don't have to look at this stuff. This is just weird."
But how do you tell everyone that what you've been taught forever is wrong? They can't, so they suppress that kind of stuff.
And why? Like, it's like, why wouldn't you just be like, "Oh, maybe things are a little different than we thought"? Why would they?
They can't. They write these books. I mean, look. Even with like monolithic buildings. I mean, when you talk about pyramid. There's 10,000 pyramids on the Western Hemisphere. They weren't done in modern time. That's not like it's 50 of them. There are thousands of them. Some of them that are, again, very similar to ones that are on other parts of the globe. Some of them are even in linear lines with each other that just doesn't happen naturally. It just doesn't. And, whether you want to tell me that these were, people one step above cavemen, with chisels, you can think that. But there's as much of an argument that there was highly advanced people here in times of this planet, whether it was hundreds of thousands of years ago, millions of years ago. There could have been things that, obviously the monoliths being stone, they last, but, the Titanic sunk 100 years ago, right? The Titanic right now at the bottom of the ocean is almost non-existent. The metal is basically worn away to nothing. So that's in a period of 100 years. What does 1,000 years do? There could have been, civilizations that were here that, deteriorated in thousands of years that are now to nothing. But these monoliths in stone, they stayed. So, I mean, whether you want to say that they were cavemen, I would say that those are some advanced things that even some of them are based on, straight mathematical things where, you wouldn't have that kind of ability in what they talk was there. You got to start accepting that maybe there were some people that were very highly advanced that, how natives and how some, tribes from hundreds of years ago knew the solar system in ways that it would be physically impossible for them to know these things. So, we want to focus on, okay, we have certain religions and these are the origins and this is how we're going to, push that it goes. But all in all, who knows?
We cutting us off, man? We're listening to some Tatiana? Are we going too far? Are we going too far into space here?
No, that was only in the monitors. That your feed didn't hear that.
All right, that's cool.
No, I got a couple more minutes. What do you got?
I mean, I think we covered a lot of different
we
things.
went right to aliens. Yeah.
No, we talked about like totally local stuff.
Can you have me back and have me on the show with Michael, because I can really stoop down the rabbit hole with him.
Yo, I would love that.
Yeah, well, I mean, we could sit here. It might not be a totally local. It might just be a totally out there kind of a
Yo,
show.
I got 20 minutes right now. If you got anything you want to talk about,
we can put it on my channel if you're afraid to put it on Totally Local.
I just don't know if it really fits in the context of Monmouth and Ocean
County.
That's why I'm saying we can put it.
I wouldn't say I'm afraid
What's yours about?
TBD. We can do that. Oh man.
He
Area
does.
51.
You do. I'm gonna be on here tomorrow.
My kind of stuff he does.
Yeah.
He just talks about whatever. He's just all over the place.
Oh, listen, I gotta like dumb it down and keep it like not too crazy for Andrew, because obviously I don't want the public to think
we can go crazy. We'll do a Friday night at 8:00. We'll get you some beers.
Yeah, I'm in.
And some weed, dude. You need some weed.
And that. Yep.
We didn't even talk about weed being legal. Where's all the dispensaries going? Are you selling real estate to some hippies down in like in Whiting to open up a dispensary, or what's going? Is that like opening up from a real estate perspective? Are they going to start accepting, or is there just a certain amount of licenses?
No, it's an amazing. I mean, look, if you can, getting into that business is something that could be one of the biggest industries. It's going to be one of the biggest industries that there is, but it's going to be done in certain ways. People, where you want to expand it to, whether it's going to be done in industrial type buildings. I mean, I think it's going to be something that has to be very regulated. Obviously there's a roadmap of other states that have it, but New Jersey's coming around. I mean, look.
It's legal now though, so you could have it, you could smoke it. You could not go to jail for it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's pretty wild.
It's wild. It's
pretty funny that like that kind of got glossed over too.
Quickly went right through this week like it was nothing.
Yeah, but like that's great that like people shouldn't be going to jail for something that's
Look, if you're concerned about weed, then you have zero priorities, because that's probably the way. You know what? People of like my parents' generation should be friggin' pissed at the world that they suppressed this for years, that this probably could have helped half of the friggin' ailments that they had if they started working on this 20 years ago in a real medical sense. They're going to find out it has a million effects, from cancer to, depressions to everything. So like, I'd be pissed if I were them that it took this long for it to get to us,
Yeah, so silly. But things are on that front are looking up. At least we have that to look forward to.
Oh yeah, God bless. Now I'm like psyched on what his podcast is. We get into some crazy shit.
Yeah, you guys will definitely get into. And we've gone down some roads. The first podcast we talked about some interesting thing, and then the guy threw himself off of a bridge somehow.
Man,
isn't that wild?
Did it happen before we had?
I'll have to go back and listen to it.
It might have happened after that podcast.
It did, because I was saying, I was like, it's funny because I happened to have met this person before, and we were getting into all this thing. He was talking about the whole Epstein thing before everything went down, and then all of a sudden he's forced himself off a bridge.
I've never, it's so amazing.
I forced myself to do math homework. I forced myself to get up early. But I couldn't imagine forcing myself. I don't know if you have to go to fisticuffs with yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how you force yourself off.
I just had a discussion with somebody recently where I referenced him where, they're talking about some of these high profile people. I had said I had made a post a few months ago about Chief Justice Roberts, being on Epstein's flight log. I got pictures of him with 8 pedophiles. That's some shit that needs answers to, and that's obviously some questions to ask. And I'm just having a discussion with somebody, and they're questioning the things they're saying. I said, look, there's a guy, Isaac Cappy, who used to call out people for some heinous type horrible shit. And if I were those people and I didn't do those things, I'd sue this guy.
Yeah.
And the guy's mantra was always, if I'm lying, sue me. If I'm lying, why don't they sue me? And nobody would ever do it. And that's where that holds a lot of weight to me for what's being said, where people want to say, this is bogus. But if you're out there defaming somebody and
people get sued all the time for that stuff.
Defamation, you're out there, calling them out for the most heinous things. Why aren't you suing these people? It seems like they're not. So
to stop them from saying,
that makes me worry that they fear the discovery process of a lawsuit of what would come out. But he would always say that he's like, if I'm lying, somebody sue me.
I haven't been following the whole Ghislaine thing. Is she's just sitting in jail? No one's talking to her. Nothing's happening.
Who knows?
She was in Massachusetts supposedly. Then there was that picture of her when she was hanging out in L.A. with the photoshopped image, which was super weird.
But they've had her for months now. They've had her. But look, when you're that lady, you got everything on everybody. Who knows what's going to happen with that lady? I mean, when there's just too many powerful people. If you look at the flight logs, it reads like the people that are on there. Nobody wants to explain what obviously it wasn't a secret thing. They knew what this guy was doing for decades. So all of these people that are on there, all of these celebrities who coincidentally, seemingly the people I see coming out the loudest against all of these things going on, against the old president, against, a lot of them are on these lists. And I feel like, nobody wants to call them out on that. Like, hey, what were you doing on the pedophiles plane? Nobody wants to ask that thing.
Well, I think that that about covers it. I think we've touched on.
That's
everything.
it. What's the next one we're gonna do? What else you got coming up on Totally Local?
Man, we're gonna do something from Bond Street. They've invited us to take over the basement. So any chance to go over there and support a local business. I've been talking to a couple other local businesses about doing some on location things. Got to figure out the logistics of going on a boat. I don't know if we could do that, but
it's not your style.
I might be forced into a situation where I have to get on a boat.
And what do you got to do? Go fishing?
Yeah, I'll have to go fishing, but I'll have to also record and video and stuff like that, because that would be obviously what I should be doing in those situations.
Yeah, who's the guy on your podcast that he does the weekly rundown real fast?
Angelo Gingerelli?
Yes,
Mr. Fifth Round? Yeah, dude. Tom's Rivers' own Angelo Gingerelli.
That's his last name, Gingerelli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to know him.
I know his family very
Michael
well. Yeah,
DeGeorge
that
knows
guy
everybody.
is so funny when I watch that. He
Yeah.
does the quick rundown. I love it.
Oh yeah, man. He's it's funny because with his work, he business slowed down. And then we were doing more, and then his business picked up, so he didn't have time to, for all my silly shenanigans. But I was just like, dude, would you be interested? And this is when you know a person's like on point. Whenever I talk to Angelo and I'm like, hey, this is what I want to do. I really just want you to do a rundown of the events. He's like, yes. Anything I say to Angelo, if he can do it, meaning like if he doesn't have an obligation to his family and he doesn't have an obligation to his work, he's just like, yes. He's like, yes, I'll do it. And like that's how that whole thing started. So yeah, epic shouts to Angelo, man. He just wrote a book on how to start your own comedy scene in your area.
Really?
Yeah, he just released like a snippet of it. He's working on getting some momentum going. Then he also wrote a book because he does like physical training and physical fitness and knows about all that shit. So he wrote something about that too. So he's just
good for him.
Yeah, he's just a colorful character that is definitely got that entrepreneurial spirit that lives in and around our beautiful Jersey Shore area.
Good. It's good to see the podcast doing good.
Yeah.
This is an awesome setup.
Yeah, I'm glad you came back in. Obviously we could do more. We could do more other crazy shit. We don't have to just do totally local stuff.
I'm always in.
Yeah. All right. Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. What else do you got going? Anything else you want to shout out? You have any buildings for sale? You have any homes that we should check out? Any hot ticket items or everything's just flying off the shelves? It doesn't even matter, huh?
No, things are doing good. No, like I said, DeGeorge Realty. We made a big move this year, and we are getting into this franchise company. We partnered up with a local franchise in Toms River that is an existing residential company. They've been there for 30 years. We're super happy, excited to get going with it, and it's nice. Things are moving in a good direction.
It's still DeGeorge Realty, though, right?
No, so, DeGeorge Realty is going to remain separate as a commercial company, so it gives me the ability to keep DeGeorge Realty separate, have our current residential agents transfer to this office. Then they have at least the backing of the corporate end of things. They get all the tools. They get all the things necessary to help them as much as possible. That me as a brokerage that was kind of, as a boutique brokerage, I'm not investing in CRMs. I'm not in, I don't have a lead generation system. But I did this, mainly for those agents to be able to give them the ability to excel, having some tools, having a corporate company behind them. But thankfully, also it gives me the opportunity to keep DeGeorge Realty, remain doing commercial. We have a great commercial department there, and I'm able to stick with that, have these guys transition into this new end, and
did that guy ever get back to you about that was it like a rat? Did he ever get back to you?
Yeah, he did. I had to tell him we can't do business. He called me back like he didn't know who I was, and he called me like he was interviewing me for this. And I'm like, do you not remember our conversation? And I referenced it, and I'm like, you're crazy, and obviously we cannot be on the same page.
If anyone wants to get the real deal. From what I know,
friggin' funny.
When you're
dealing,
you
came to that appointment with me.
Yeah. Whenever you're dealing with Michael, if you want the honest truth, if you can accept the honest truth when it comes to property, real estate, how it's going to go down, and you want somebody to not coddle you, and you want them to really kind of tell you what's going on, you got to talk to Michael because he's going to lay it out for you. And you laid it out for that dude. You're
so honest.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't
tell you the prices that
he was working
were
against me.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, exactly what I told the guy. I'm like, look, you're going to go through this, and you're going to go through 3 realtors, and in a year you're going to call me back. And it was 9 months later, call me back. I'm like, obviously you're not listening. And he still wanted the same number. I'm like, you're just not making any sense.
So he was trying to basically dictate the price he thought it should be.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be realistic and tell the guy what it's really worth. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear what they want.
But then you don't want to if that's the case, then you have the wherewithal to be like, I'm not going to deal with you because
I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, you're not going to make
I'm here to make
that
money.
commission if you're dealing with somebody that's unrealistic.
I don't need a sign on the ground. I need to make a deal.
That guy was aggravated. I don't know if he owed his bookie some money. He had to make some quick cash, but he was he was aggravated. And you were being as sweet as could be. You're
That's
look.
So funny that you were on that appointment.
Oh man, it was so funny. Just seeing how it all goes down, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Excuse me. Anyway, guys, I think that's the show. Totally Local Podcast. You know the deal. Instagram, totally_local_podcast. Facebook, just type in Totally Local Podcast. You'll find it. We go up on, we do the audio version. You can find us on, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever the hell you go to get an audio podcast. And then also, we throw it up on the YouTubes. So, that's it. I don't know how the theme song or any of this stuff works anymore because we've gone Hollywood, how the studio goes.
This is awesome. Listen,
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
All right, cool,
I'm
man.
impressed.
Well, Michael DeGeorge Realty. Get
Thanks
at
again
him.
for having me.
You know him. If you know him, you know him. How we doing in there, James? Are we done? Is he taking a shit? What's he doing in there?
Give me the fade to black smoke. Sid.
Epic shouts to Tatiana, wherever you are tonight.
Yeah, I want to see that video.
Oh my God. It's beautiful.
Yeah, this is great.
It's crazy.
Great.
Dude, we can throw parties.
I love it.
Let me hit that pen.
Do it while it's all smoky.